Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining my podcast number 7. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend. Very cold out there. It's winter, and I'm done with it. First off, I want to thank everyone for joining my podcast last week with the great Eddie Testa. I look forward to having more people on with me as my live discussions continue going forward. Gotten like 1,200 views of that already, which is fantastic. I thank Eddie for taking the time out of his busy schedule to come on and have some fun with me. And that's what it's about when I have people on with me. It's a discussion. I want them to relax as if we're in a living room and having a guy-to-guy type of talk, which is what it was all about. So hopefully every one of you enjoyed that. And that's what it's about with me, making sure that it's enjoyable to you and you find out some new information of the guests that I have on with me. It's not an interview. It's a discussion. And that's what these podcasts are about. It's about having a discussion as if you're sitting in one's living room and just talking and relaxing. And that's what it was all about last Sunday. And again, I thank you for viewing, watching, sharing it, and Eddie for coming on board with me. So let's get going so far with today's podcast. Let's start where we are a week away from the Super Bowl between the New England Patriots and Seattle Seahawks. I'm not too excited about the Super Bowl. Seattle's really good. New England's having a good year. You look at the teams that New England have played, and I don't like getting into that, but I have to. You got to look at, you're dealt the schedule you're dealt with, and you have to beat the teams that are on your schedule. I totally get that. So look at their schedule this year. They've beaten the NFC South teams, which no team had a winning record. They've beaten teams that are looking for new head coaches. They beat the Jets. And look at the playoffs. Look, as a fan, I like my teams in the playoffs playing tough teams. But, hey, look, they're going into the playoffs, and they've really had an easy path to the Super Bowl. A part of me thinks the Super Bowl could be a real blowout. The big thing is people are watching the bet. Your Super Bowl boxes. Have you gotten those boxes yet? They're going around offices where you fill in your name, you give them some money, and see if you win some money at the end of the first quarter, end of the half, and the third quarter, and the end of the game. Everyone gets in those boxes for sure. And that's what it's about. Plus watching the commercials. And, don't want to get political here. People will watch the halftime Super Bowl show. Others will not, for whatever reason it may be. I'm not a big fan of Bad Bunny. Look, if you like it, kudos to you. If you don't, it's another story. We have choices at halftime. Of course, I'll watch beforehand the Puppy Bowl, which is absolutely awesome. I love the Puppy Bowl. It's really cool. Now, my question, do you think the 2-week time period from the conference championship games to the Super Bowl is too long of a wait for the Super Bowl? I know a few years ago they changed it and they went to a week between the Super Bowl and the conference championship. I think 2 weeks is a long time. I know eventually the NFL is looking to go to an 18-game schedule with 2 bye weeks. There's no doubt the NFL wants to somehow have a Super Bowl during President's Weekend. And I've always said, and who knows, I may be wrong here, that eventually you will see a Super Bowl, and it should be on a Saturday night. Think about it logically. Everybody has those Super Bowl parties on Sunday, or you go to an establishment that's having a Super Bowl party. How many people miss work the next day or go into work like, just a total mess? The Super Bowl eventually should be on a Saturday, and that's what I tell some people, look, these Saturday games that you see on prime time at the end of the year and also playoff games are just test runs by the NFL. They want to see what type of ratings that they get on Saturday night games, because I'm telling you, eventually the Super Bowl will be on a Saturday. It will be on President's Weekend because the NFL will go to an 18-game schedule. So how many of you will be watching the halftime show next week with Bad Bunny? That's the question. It's so political right now with everything going on. It's just crazy. I mean, even watching some people that are, performing before the game that, I just wish the political side of all of us, and I'm guilty as anybody, that we would just all get along and basically vote and it's over with. You know what I mean? This avenue here, I love it to death. But it can be a real negative to people as well, too. The Eagles hired their offensive coordinator. It wasn't their first choice. It wasn't their 5th choice. It was probably their 10th choice. They hired Sean Mannion, quarterback coach with the Green Bay Packers. Sound familiar a little bit? Remember Andy Reid? He was a quarterback coach under Paul Holmgren in the Green Bay Packers. He was Brett Favre's quarterback coach. Remember when the Eagles named him head coach? as a quarterback coach. Should be interesting with the new OC, what he does with the team, but he wasn't their first, second, third, or fourth choice for sure. And there's many reasons why a lot of these offensive coordinators didn't want to come to Philly. It could be the quarterback. It could be the head coach. It could be a lot of things. It's crazy how long it took the Eagles to find an OC and why none of the big names wanted to come. I get a lot of them that are successful go on to be head coaches elsewhere, which – that happens when you're a good team and you're in your playoffs and you win the Super Bowl, for example, like the Eagles did last year. Think about it. Jalen Hurts has had different coordinators since he was in college every year, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. He's going to have another one this year he's going to have to work for. Will the Eagles three-peat as an NFC East champion? Get this. There had not been a repeat NFC East champion since 2003 and 4 when the Eagles did do that. I don't think it's going to happen this year. And some of my friends that are New York Giant fans might like what I'm going to say here. I actually think the Giants are going to win the NFC East. I just think John Harbaugh is an incredible coach. And let's be real here. The Giants have some good young talent. And look, they're going to have a good draft. They're going to be in the top 5, top 10 in the draft, picking this time around. And you got a coach like Harbaugh who just wins. He just knows how to coach. He knows how to get the best out of his players. I know he only won one Super Bowl in 18 years at Baltimore, but the guy wins. The guy produces competitive teams, and the Giants got a good coach there. I'm a fan of the Harbaughs, both Jim and John. I watched John this Wednesday on a podcast, and the guy is just a winner. He's a winner, and the Giants got themselves a winner. And you know what? It benefits the NFC East. I'm all about the NFC East going back to the way it was in the late 80s and early 90s when all 4 of the teams were competitive. That's what makes football great in the NFC East. Think about it. The Eagles have been, the top team in that division the last 2 years, and it hasn't been close. Yes, Washington got to the conference championship last year, and we saw what the Eagles did to them in the NFC championship game last year. But I think it's important. The Giants got to be relevant again. They haven't been relevant in a long time. Yes, they made the playoffs in 2022. But that was the only playoffs they have made since they won the Super Bowl in 2012. The New York Giants being relevant is huge. I like competitive football. I like the NFC East being the way it was in the 80s and early 90s where all the teams are beating each other up. Classic NFC smash-mouth football, tough defenses, and just fantastic games. And the Giants are going to be better. And I truly believe, and you can mark it down here, I think the Giants win the NFC East next year. I'm going to put them right there. The Eagles – The path now is going to be hard, and it should be. Okay, it should be. The NFC East should be a lot better than it is. The Cowboys should get better. Washington should get better with the players that got injured. They'll get their star quarterback back. It should be interesting, the NFC East next year. And just John Harbaugh as head coach is going to make the Giants better. So let's talk about something that happened this week. It got a lot of people nationally got their feathers all ruffled and everything. Bill Belichick not making the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Look, we know the deal would happen, the cheating scandal that went on with New England. I think there was a lot of backdoor stuff going on there because they wanted Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft did not want to share the Hall of Fame podium with Bill Belichick. If you want to talk about cheating, look, Bill got fined. Robert Kraft got fined double. He paid a fine. Tom Brady got suspended. If they're trying to set a mark, okay, he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. If you're going to do that to Bill Belichick, then you need to do that to Tom Brady and also Robert Kraft because they were part of the cheating. All 3 of them were. Robert Kraft admitted to it by paying the fine that he paid. I believe the fine was $500,000 to him, and Belichick it was $250,000. I believe Brady was suspended for a couple games. All 3 of them were involved with that. Okay. The bottom line, if you're going to send a statement to Belichick like you're not getting in on the first ballot, then look, you need to send a statement to Brady. The only quarterback all time that I think is even close to Brady or better than Brady is Joe Montana. Look, Tom's won 6 Super Bowls with New England. He's a great quarterback, but he was part of that scandal too. Robert Kraft, great owner. Look, New England's back in the Super Bowl again. He was part of that cheating too. And it affected the Eagles in the Super Bowl when they played New England in 2004. I will never say that cheating won the game for New England. There are a lot of things that happened in that game that the Eagles could have won that game, and they just didn't do things to win the game. And then part of me thinks, if you're not cheating, you're not trying hard enough. To be honest with you, if you're going to, if we're going to eventually put Bill Belichick in the Hall of Fame and Tom Brady and Robert Kraft that were part of numerous cheating scandals in the NFL, then you also, in another sport, baseball, need to put Pete Rose in. You need to put Barry Bonds in and Roger Clemens in. Bottom line, you can put asterisks to all their names if you want to, but all those people I just mentioned, those athletes, belong in the Hall of Fame. Barry Bonds was going there way before he started using. The bottom line why he used, and I'm not making excuses, but the bottom line why he used, if you remember that home run season with Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa, that annoyed Barry Bonds. It annoyed him. I'm not saying that he should have done what he did, but look, the guy hit the most home runs ever. I don't care if he used or whatever. You still got to hit the ball. You still got to hit a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, whatever. They belong in the Hall of Fame. They belong. If you want to put asterisks next to their name, go for it. I mean, I'm sure there's stories about plenty of people that are in the Hall of Fame of any sport right now, what they did. We just don't hear about it because of different reasons. The media's more sophisticated nowadays. And this avenue right here, social media. It's funny. We hear about social media, and I heard this on a podcast, and it's true. It's not social, and it's not media. That's a great point. It isn't social, it isn't media. Just think, even when we talk about politics, how nasty we all get to each other, how we hide behind a computer screen like this and a keyboard and act like we're tough. Even with the screen names, is it really that same person? Are you hiding in mommy and daddy's basement being real tough? Social media is great. I love it for this, but it can be bad too. Think about it. It's growing up as a kid, being picked on in the playgrounds. There's bullying going on in social media in this avenue, which is crazy. And look at what we've done to each other with politics. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So some of the Super Bowl prop bets that are out there, some interesting ones. I actually wrote these down this morning. Last year this ended, but the team that scored last in the Super Bowl, the prop bet was 19-0 going into last year. Last year it didn't happen because Kansas City scored last, but if you remember that Super Bowl was a complete blowout. So that's a prop bet that the team that scores last wins the Super Bowl. That prop bet is 19-1. Before last year, it was 19 straight that the last team that scored won the Super Bowl. Another prop bet, which is interesting, is first play of the second half. Will it be a run or a pass? And if you think about it logically, when you make those halftime adjustments and winning games is about winning in the line of scrimmage and in the trenches, the first play generally is a running play. That's what I would, and that's what I heard on the prop bets when they were talking about this week, is usually it's a running play. Another prop bet, will the first play in the Super Bowl to start the game be a pass or a run? Look, everybody wants to establish the run. You hear that all the time at all levels of football. Is a team going to run the ball first? It's a good point, right? Real good point. So a couple of the prop bets out there they're interesting. There are so many of them. There's one out there where how long is the national anthem going to be played for? If you can pull them up on your apps, you can go to the sports books, the casinos. There's prop bets beyond imaginable out there. It's just crazy, absolutely crazy. Let me just pull up something here for you guys. Just want to put this here. I'm doing production as well as I'm going to put this there. Be nice, guys. I appreciate you when you watch here. I scrolled if you wanted to come on board with me. That'll always go on the bottom of the scroll thing there. Also, to get on my YouTube page, subscribe to my YouTube page. Real easy to get to. It's right there. Very important. It helps me out because YouTube gives me a lot of benefits once I get a certain number of subscribers, because eventually I'd like to do my thing on YouTube and try to connect it to my other social media outlets. That goes with Instagram. I have to have a certain amount of followers in order to go live on Instagram. So the whole key is I need numbers, and let's be real here. And then these outlets give me some benefits for getting those numbers because let's be real here. They're about numbers. It's like any business. They're about numbers. If you're generating numbers and viewerships to their platforms, excuse me, they give you, they help you out. And that's very important. So let's get into some other topics. One that's very big locally here, and I saw it on social media, and it caught my eye, and I wanted to talk about it with you guys. And if you know me pretty well, you know I'm about history, and I'm a nostalgic type of guy. A big thing in Asbury Park is the Asbury Carousel building. There's rumors that they want to tear that down. Personally, I think they should restore it in some way. It has tremendous amount of history. Make it into whatever you want to make it into. Make it into a small venue of some sort. Make it into put a brand new carousel in there. Expand it, make it bigger with a carousel, and make it a music venue. It has history to it. Look, I'm not originally from here, but I heard stories about numerous things, and a lot of people don't like what's going on with Asbury Park now with the building of the condominiums and all that other stuff. Look, it's all about money. It's all about generating and making a short town better. But look, history is important too. We can't forget about history, and I'm a real fan of it. This carousel building, just restore it. Make it what it is. If you restore it and make it attractive and make something out of it, you're going to get people going to that. Make it another music venue. And put a big carousel in it and use it. It has history. Tearing it down, I think it's going to hurt a lot of people's memories. And I'm behind the folks that don't want it to be torn down. It's history. Restore history. Grasp it. Remember it. Make it better. I'm all for them not tearing it down. It's just do something with it. I mean, music's huge in Asbury Park. Let's get John Bon Jovi. Let's get Bruce. Look, Bruce, how about doing that constructive and helping save Asbury? Is being the spokesperson of let's save the carousel. You got your career started in Asbury Park, going to the Pony. That carousel is a lot of history for a lot of people. Restore it. Just restore it. So are you folks sick of winter yet? Oh, dear Lord. I tell you, my complex, right? They plowed it, but I could not get into it until yesterday where they finally replowed it. And look, you pay when you pay for snow removal, they need to remove the snow so you can park. I couldn't really park in my development. I had to park on the outer edge of the development, basically not illegally, but it wasn't a space. I created a space on the side. So yesterday, finally put a memo out yesterday morning on Thursday afternoon, yesterday morning, telling everybody clear their cars, move them out 11 o'clock around and plow. Should have done that on Monday or Tuesday after the storm. Finally did that. Finally got a parking spot. It's just, I am so over the snow. I know a lot of you out there like the Four Seasons, and kudos to you. I can't stand it. I'm dealing right now with sinus crap. My back is killing me. My hip is a mess. Just chilling around and just dealing with the cold. I had that seasonal depression a few years ago, and it's crazy. Maybe I need one of those vitamin D lamps. I don't know. I'm all about spring, summer, and all that other stuff. I'm just done with winter. Give me some nice sunshine with some nice warm weather. I'm all for that. And, hopefully it'll warm up. We're done with the snow. I'm sure we're going to have a few more snowstorms because it hasn't been this cold in a long time. Also going on in Philly, this is for all my Philadelphia friends. If you remember New Year's Day, the string bands decided that they weren't going to compete with their costumes and all their props and all that other stuff because it was too windy. Boy, they picked the wrong day today. Boy, it is cold. They're doing it today at the link. Like I said, when they canceled back on New Year's Day, they should have waited till warm weather and do it right along that whole area, and you would get people coming to watch it. Who in their right mind? And I love the Mummers. I love them. It's a rich Philadelphia tradition. It goes back a long way. It's something that defines Philly in so many ways. And if you've never been to the parade, it's a great thing. And the best part about it is if you get to the after parade at 2 Street, the after parade, it's great. The neighborhood opens up, bars open up, houses open up. It's like a big party. They should have put it in warmer weather. This is where the city had a lot to say to do with it. And it's all, the corporate sponsorships and all that other stuff. they would have gotten more people at it if it was a little bit warmer. I mean, they're going to have the diehards going there rooting for their certain bands that they follow there, but it's going to be cold. Who wants to sit in the link in this weather today? God bless them, all those that are doing it. And hey, the mummers are a great thing. I'm a huge fan of the string bands. They're fantastic. But, man, it is just too cold to be sitting on a chair at a stadium with a wind going across there too. Going to be a tough one. I know they're showing it on TV on a tape delay tonight at 8 p.m. It's a great thing, but I wish they would have just changed it to a warmer date than today. A lot more colder today than it was on New Year's Day. Also tonight, if you are a pro wrestling fan, which I am and have been for quite a long time since I was a kid, I still watch Raw. I still watch, all the shows. I always have. It just I'm a fan of it big time. WWE Royal Rumble is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That's today at 2:00 on the East Coast. That's a time difference in Saudi Arabia. I believe it's a 6-hour time difference. They're 6 hours ahead of us. The annual WWE Royal Rumble. Also, last night, I got to give kudos out to the Villanova men's basketball team. Kevin Willard's got them playing good basketball, man. They are 16-5. Last week, they played UConn in a great game. They wound up losing in overtime. They gave UConn a battle. Villanova appears they're going to be making the NCAA tournament, which is fantastic. And Willard's a great coach. He did a great job at Seton Hall. And he's doing a wonderful job with Villanova in his first year on the main line. 16-5 is nothing to sneeze at, and Villanova should be breaking if they put some wins together into the top 25. I start watching college basketball right about now in February. You got the Super Bowl, then there's like a lull, okay? And I start getting ready for March Madness and start watching a lot of the teams because now you're in the heart of conference play in a lot of college basketball, and March Madness is only a month away. It's like a law if you're a sports fan because football season's over. They're in the heart of NHL and the NBA, which will be coming to a break soon for their all-star games, which we'll get into that in a second about professional all-star games. And then you have, if you're a stock car fan, NASCAR fan, the Daytona 500. I believe there's a race tomorrow. Daytona is one of the preliminary races. And I believe next week, or is it the week? Actually, it's the week after. It's the week after the Super Bowl. Is the Daytona 500, which is the granddaddy of NASCAR. And then you have spring training with baseball. So there is a law of a time period there. Just college basketball, I start watching now. So I get myself ready for March Madness. And it's interesting, some of the teams out there and some of the records. Arizona, Michigan, very good teams. And, I'm a big fan of March Madness. It's one of my favorite times of the year. It's, think about it. A lot of people take off through their pools or brackets, take off a half day, go home, go to your establishment and watch some of the games. I do that usually as well. As then I prepare for the start of the Major League Baseball season, which hopefully this year I make the pilgrimage down to Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies home opener. I always would go to the home opener. I have not done that the last few years since COVID. Hopefully this year I do that. One of these years I also want to do those fantasy camps. You see those? I watched the Phillies. They presented their fantasy camp this week, showing Ruben Amaro and Larry Boa and a few other of the old-time players that play with the Phillies. They volunteer their time at these fantasy camps, which are pretty cool. It brings the guys that had this dream. We always had those dreams in our sleep or we're in the park of being a professional athlete. It gives you that time for a week or two to play in some games, work out, and getting practice with guys that have played in the major leagues, or sometimes some of the guys that are already in the league come out and do some of their coaching with the folks that are at this camp. Looks pretty cool to me. One of these times I would like to partake in that. And, I have a lot of stuff I think about, like going to different sports venues that I've never been to because it's just sports nostalgic. Me loving sports. Like I always want to get to the Rose Bowl. Just seeing pictures of the picturesque view of the mountain ranges at Pasadena, and that stadium is right there. It's just unbelievable. Seeing that live has to be absolutely unbelievable. Also, I have to take a visit to South Bend, go to the Notre Dame game. Look, I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but there's a lot of rich history there at South Bend and Notre Dame Stadium. Just seeing some of these old sports venues, even Wrigley Field in Chicago, Fenway Park in Boston, they've restored those a lot. Look, they have history. That's going back to that carousel building in Asbury. Wrigley Field has history. Notre Dame Stadium has history. The Rose Bowl Stadium has history. They restore these places, and I'm all about restoring history and not forgetting about history. History is important, and we should restore that. And I don't care if it's a sporting venue or if it's the Asbury Park Carousel building. Don't just destroy it and think it's going to go away, because it's a lot of history there. Lots of history. Today, lots of college basketball. NFL, what do they call it now? The Pro Bowl, touch football. A lot of guys backing out of it. I'm not a big fan of these pro all-star games. They're bogus to me. They're a waste of time. The NFL makes theirs like a touch football game. Who was going to watch it? I think they put it on a Tuesday night. Remember, it used to be the Pro Bowl from Hawaii. It would be on Sunday. And we watched that. It was just never – there was rules. There was really no defense. If you look at these all-star games, which ones are really worth watching? I mean, baseball, they try to make the winning league that wins. They give the team that wins that league pennant. If, let's say your National League wins the all-star game. If you're in the National League and you make the World Series, then you get the home field. They tried to make the games mean something. They don't mean anything. Have you ever watched the NBA All-Star game? It's like a track meet. It's like, let's see what team could possibly score 200 points in a game. NHL, same thing. It's like, oh my goodness, they don't check, they don't hit. It's these all-star games in pro sports, in my opinion, are the biggest waste of time and a joke. And the NFL, touch football, who wants to watch that? It's obvious the players don't want to go and partake in that. A lot of players are backing out. Just look at Sanders from Cleveland. He's going to replace one of the quarterbacks that it's not playing in it. I'm just not a fan of it. And I used to watch them just because to get my football fix in. I'm not going to watch it. It's what are you watching? You're watching touch football? Come on. It's just a waste of time. So Super Bowl, we're a week away. We're looking at Seattle and New England. Is it going to be a game? A part of me thinks this could be a blowout. Seattle is really good. Look, I'm going to give New England their props. They're well coached. They're there, but I don't think they're on the same level as Seattle. Seattle has got a great defense, and they can score points. And I just have a feeling that, remember those Super Bowls back in the 90s that were over by halftime? I think we might see one of these this time around too. I just don't see New England. And I know it's any given Sunday, anything can happen. I'm just looking at numbers here and looking at the teams that I've watched play. Like I said, New England's there. Give them their props. They got to the Super Bowl. But Seattle, just look at who they are. New York Jet fans have got to be like scratching their heads watching Sam Darnold, quarterback in Seattle, to the Super Bowl. Remember, he was the Jets' number one pick in the NFL draft. Then he went to Carolina, and then he went to Minnesota, I believe, and then he went to Seattle. He has done a complete 360 with his NFL career. He's had a great year with Seattle, and he has a chance of winning the Super Bowl with Seattle too. I believe they're a 4-point favorite. I looked at the spread. Let me see the spread here. 4.5. Seattle's a 4.5-point favorite in the Super Bowl. I would take Seattle with 4.5. I think that's a safe bet, taking Seattle. And any of the prop bets that I mentioned, there's so many of those prop bets. It's a degenerate's heaven on Super Bowl Sunday with the prop bets and everything. You can bet anything. Like I said, how long the national anthem is going to be, and there's some crazy stuff out there. I'm sure a lot of you could list some of them out to those of you that bet and are familiar with a lot of the props for the Super Bowl. So, everyone, I want to thank you for watching my 7th podcast. Thank you for last week as well. I'm working on having another guest with me in February. I'm looking to have at least one in the very beginning of my podcast. Hopefully, once things start rocking and rolling, maybe 2 a month. Eventually, I'm looking for some ideas of come fall, utilizing my high school connections that I have back home to maybe doing some podcasts with maybe coaches, different things. I have a lot of different ideas that I'm going in my head here, but the big part is I've gotten some people that are interested in coming on with me. It's a matter of fitting it into their schedule, my schedule. And like I said in the beginning, whoever comes on with me, and this goes if you're watching right now, it's all about having fun, being relaxed, and I'm going to make you feel comfortable. I've done, and I don't call these interviews, I've done interviews. I've done my own show before when I was doing high school football. So I'm very comfortable with this. What I'm not comfortable with is what I'm learning is the technical aspects of podcasts. The technical parts are very important. Everyone thinks it's not. I mean, think about your radio talk show host. If the behind the people weren't there, then your talk show host wouldn't be successful. So I'm working a lot of this on my own. I have a producer, does a wonderful job, has a lot of this in their background and teaches me a little bit. I self-teach myself some of this technical aspects. This end of it for me is easy. I can sit here and talk all day long. I can ask numerous types of questions. I know what to ask. I know how to make people feel relaxed. And I'm glad that, many of you enjoyed last week's podcast with Eddie, and I so greatly appreciate that. And I look forward to giving you many more of those. And trust me, I prepare for those. I want them to be as entertaining as possible. Some of you might say they sound monotone. I want those of you, look, you can't make everybody happy when you do these things or whatever you do. Think about it. Think about a politician. Half the people hate him. Think about it, or her. A podcast, you could Google it and see what a podcast is. It's not like a radio show. You understand? I try to, you're having a discussion and you're going back and forth. It's kind of like being at a party or having someone over at your house and you're sitting on the living room couch and you're just talking and being relaxed. That's what it's about with me when I do these, when I have a guest. And that's my goal when I do these. Just to make that person feel comfortable, hear their stuff, have them discuss to me whatever we're talking about, and let it be enjoyable to a lot of you. Because I'm sure after you saw the podcast that I had with Eddie last week, you found out some things about him you didn't know, some of the stories, which was fantastic. And that's what these podcasts are supposed to be about. That's what I want them to be about. I want them to be enjoyable to the person that's on with me, enjoyable to me, and most importantly, enjoyable to you. So I want to thank you all for watching this podcast and also the one last week and the ones going forward. Always remember, I will have on the bottom of my screen when I do these shows is the stream so you can get on with me. At numerous other times, I'll have on this on my podcast is to subscribe to my YouTube page. I greatly appreciate you guys doing that. You can see all my past podcasts, including last week's podcast with Eddie, and any more that I have with guests will always be on my YouTube page. So again, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you again. I love you all. Bye.